For this video, you'll need to be on page 108 in your math journal so that you can follow along and do these problems with me. And then you can use your math journal to transfer your answers to the Go Formative for today. So we're starting on page 108 with more fraction of problems. We started talking about this idea of fraction of yesterday, and I told you that when you see the word of, I want you to think multiply. So what we're doing is we're taking this whole number, like in number 1 it says 5, and I want to know what is half of 5. So if I were to cut that in half, what would I have? And so when we set it up like a multiplication problem. 1/2, and then of means multiply, and I'm multiplying it by 5. Now I can put that whole number 5 over 1. That means the same thing as just having 5. And then with fractions, we can multiply straight across. So 1 times 5 is 5, and 2 times 1 is 2. Now remember, all fractions are division problems. So to simplify this, you might be able to do it in your head, but if you can't, that's okay. You set it up like a division problem. And you ask yourself, how many times does 2 go into 5? Well, it goes 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. And I subtract, that leaves me with 1 left over. But I don't write 2 remainder 1. I'm dealing with fractions. So I'm going to report this remainder as a fraction. It's 2.5. So half of 5 is 2.5. So if I were to add 2.5 plus 2.5, I would get 5. That'd be a way to check your problem. Okay? So we're setting all of these fraction of problems up as multiplication. Let's look at number 2. What is 1/5 of 12? So 1/5 of means multiply. So of 12. And I can put it over a 1. Okay, and then I'll just multiply straight across. 1 times 12 is 12. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, now we've got a division problem. 12 divided by 5. 5 goes into 12 2 times. That's 10. And I subtract. There's 2 left over. But since we're dealing with fractions, we'll report our remainder as a fraction. 2 and 2/5. So 1/5 of 12 would be 2 and 2/5. Okay. Now for number 3 and number 4, if you think you have the hang of it, then maybe pause the video here and work out the problem on your own, and then you can watch what I do and see if you're getting the right answer. That's a great way to check if you understand how to do the type of problems that we're doing. Okay, so number 3 is 1/4 of 2. So I'm going to set up my multiplication problem. Of means multiply. 1/4 of 2. I put it over a 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 1 is 4. Now you might look at that and go, okay, I know what I can reduce that to. You might look at that and say, I don't have to reduce it. Well, with a problem like this, you have a couple choices. It is simplified, so you can leave it as 2/4. So you could write 2/4. Or maybe you want to go a step further and you say, I know I can reduce 2/4. 2 is half of 4. If I had my little circle here and I cut it into fourths and I shaded 1, 2. So 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So I could say 2/4 or 1/2. They're the same. So either answer would be okay. All right. 1/8 of 6. 1/8 of means multiply. There's my 6, and I put it over 1. 1 times 6 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. So again, same thing with this one. You could write 6/8, or you could reduce it. Now maybe you can reduce it in your head. Maybe you've got those math facts down and you can do that. If you can't, that's all right. You could set it up as a division problem. Okay? I know that both of these numbers can be divided by 2. If I did 6 divided by 2, I would get 3. And if I did 8 divided by 2, I would get 4. So I could write 6/8, or I could write 3/4. Those are equivalent fractions. They mean the same thing. Okay. We've got a couple story problems to try now. So for number 5, it's still a fraction of problem. We just have to decide what information we need to make our problem. So let's look at that. Frederick went to a farmer's market and he bought 8 quarts of strawberries. He wants to keep a third of those 8 quarts, so a third of the strawberries, and then give away the rest. How many quarts of strawberries will he keep? So he wants to keep a third of, well, how much does he have? He has 8 quarts. So he wants to keep 1/3 of 8. Okay, so of means multiply. 1/3 times 8. And what do we put the whole number over? Always a 1. Okay? 1 times 8 is 8, and 3 times 1 is 3. Now I can't leave that. That's an improper fraction. The numerator can't stay bigger than the denominator, so we have to reduce that. So we can set up over here our division problem. How many 3's are in 8? Okay, well, I know that 2 3's would be 6. 8 take away 6 is 2. And again, it's fractions, a fraction of, so I'm going to report this remainder as a fraction. 2 and 2/3. So Frederick is going to keep 2 whole quarts and 2/3 of another quart, and then he'll give the rest away. Okay. Number 6. Same thing. This is a fraction of story problem. This is about Shelby. Shelby has a 4-pound bag of mixed nuts. She wants to put 1/6 of the nuts at each of the 6 snack tables at a fundraiser. How many pounds of nuts should she put on each table? Okay, so I know it's going to be fraction of. It's a 1/6 of. Okay, well now I have to decide what other number in the problem do I need. Is it a 1/6 of 4 or is it a 1/6 of 6? Well, it says she has 4-pound bag of nuts. Okay, and she has 6 tables. So I don't need a 1/6 of my tables. I wanted to share the nuts with everybody. So I need a 1/6 of the 4-pound bag of mixed nuts. So I need 1/6 of 4. Okay, so set up my problem. Of means multiply, so 1/6 times 4, and I put that whole number over 1. Okay, 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 6 is 6. So I could write 4/6. You could leave it like that, or if you want to reduce it further, which I always like for you to try to reduce it further, I know that 4 can be divided by 2 and 6 could be divided by 2. So I could say 2/3. I could leave it at 4/6, or I could say 2/3. These are equivalent fractions, so both of them are correct. They're equal to each other. Okay? All right, our last problem for today is an explaining problem, and I know how you guys love to write in math. So it says, explain how you checked that your answer to problem 6 made sense. Well, checking your answer is a good thing to do. It tells you if you know that you've got it right or not. So if I'm saying that if she has a 4-pound bag of mixed nuts, well, 1/6 of that 4 pounds is 4/6. So how do I know, how could I check that 4/6 is 1/6 of all of the bag of nuts? Okay, and I've written this out ahead of time so you don't have to sit here and watch me write it. But let me read this explanation to you. Okay, if 4/6, so our 4/6, if 4/6 is 1/6 of 4, and I know that sounds really confusing, so let me explain it. When we did this problem, we found out what one small fraction, a 1/6 of the 4, we found out how much that is. That would be 4/6 out of a 4-pound bag. Okay, so if this was my 4-pound bag and I cut it into sixths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, a sixth of that bag would be 4/6. Okay, so if 4/6 is 1/6 of the 4 pounds, then if I put all of my 4/6 together, okay, 6/6 would be 1. So if I put all of my 4/6 together, 4/6, 4/6, 4/6, 4/6, 4/6, 4/6. So I did it 6 times because 6/6 is a whole, right? So if I added 4/6 6 times, I would get 24/6 if I added up all those 4s. And when I reduce 24/6, I get 4. And that's how big the bag was that I started with. Okay, so if 4/6 is a sixth of the 4-pound bag, then when I add all those 4/6 together, I would get 24/6. And when you reduce that, so if you set it up as a division problem, 24 divided by 6, you would get 4. And 4 is how much we started with. We had a 4-pound bag. Okay, so I know that sounds a little confusing. But if you're adding up all the fraction of pieces and then you reduce, you should get the number you started with. Okay? This is our last lesson in chapter 3. So next week will be a lot of review, and then we'll be preparing to take the math test. So make sure that you work through all of these math journal pages. Make sure that you work through the math boxes. Hop on those Google Meets and get help from me so that you can make sure you are prepared for the test. We'll review next week. We'll do a study guide, and then probably the week after that, we'll take our test on one of those days. So don't be afraid to reach out if you need some help, if you don't understand. Have a great day.